First, a man with whom I have at least a few things in common. We were born within a few weeks of each other. We're both the father of twins. And we both had the honour of presenting Crackerjack. And there, I'm afraid, the similarity ends. Come on down, Leslie Crowther. Well, that's about all we got time for.
Oh, I'll go then.
Leslie, people don't shout "Hello, Leslie" anymore, I suppose, do they?
Oh, no, they shout "Come on down" in every accent under the sun. I mean, if you're in Scotland, they say "Come on down." And if it's in Yorkshire, it's "Come on down, lad." And in Northern Ireland, it's "Come on down." It's great. Down here, of course, it's "Come on down, boy." Right?
The trouble is, what do you answer?
Well, you either come on down or you stay where you are. Depends where you are. Where you are at the time.
Yes. I remember doing Give Us a Clue. People used to shout, "Give us a clue," and you didn't quite know what to do.
Well, no, you wouldn't really, would you?
Yeah. Now, The Price is Right is in its 4th year, isn't it?
Yeah.
And the studio audience still seem as cheerfully demented as ever.
That's right.
Where do you get them from?
We get them from the same revenue or venue as all the audiences here. They come from all over the country, and they come by coach, which is why they are wildly excited when they arrive, because they've been on a charabanc outing. And it's absolutely true, absolutely true. They don't have any of that. They arrive and they have an absolutely wonderful time. They are asked to participate in the show. They're not shouting mindless rubbish, they're shouting advice. If you ask this audience if they had contestants on this stage now, and there were lots of prizes to be won, and these people thought they knew the answers, the prices, they would shout the answers. 5, 45, they go raving mad. Because it's like pantomime, you see. If you ask any audience to participate in a show, then they will. They will.
The Americans, of course, are much more hysterical, aren't they?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. They are as hysterical. I mean, we haven't had that marvellous moment like that black girl who came down and lost her boob tube. That's been... We're praying and hoping that one day happen. But the great... if you ever see that clip again, and you will...
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it will. Please, God, it will be shown again and again and again and again. But the trick, the next time, if they show the full version, is to see the reaction of the lady in contestants' row who is standing next to where this lady arrives. Because the lady arrives... and everybody's watching the old Pinky and Perky flopping about, you know. But none of... if you'll pardon the expression... or expressions, but nobody watches the lady next door. And she is trying desperately to tell her without actually telling her. And she's going...
And she doesn't know.
She doesn't know. No, oblivious. It nearly happened to us once. We had a girl in a sari, and she had a sort of... I don't know how... well, she arranged this sari around her ample bosom. And... if she'd actually done that, then it would have all been revealed. Come on up, yes.
Yeah.
But,
there are a lot of prizes in the show. Is greed the motivation, do you reckon?
no, I don't think so. I think that's just the modus operandi for the show. If you ask any of the contestants, they will actually say that what they've enjoyed most is being on the show. I mean, the frigs that they've won will eventually break down, built-in obsolescence. The holiday in Barbados will have been spent, but they will never, ever forget that they've actually been on the box, on television.
Your time with Crackerjack, of course, stood you in very good stead for doing the show, didn't it?
Oh, that's right, because, as you know very well, we used to do games and introduce guest stars and we had to manipulate the show and be the master of ceremonies, which is exactly what I'm doing now.
And the pencils, I mean, people would do anything for one, wouldn't they?
Well, almost, yeah. And the thing is, you know, as you very well remember, they were only just ordinary little paper-made pens or pencils with Crackerjack engraved rather badly, actually. Crackerjack.
You're too young, I'm afraid.
You are a smoothie, aren't you?
How long have you been broadcasting?
Well, I started in 1947, so this is 40 years.
Wow.
Aye. I was still at drama school, and they used to hire boy actors for the school's broadcasting services for Senior English 2 and Stories from World History and Music and Movement for under-9s and that kind of thing. And they used to hire these boy actors so that they could ask the questions in the little playlets to which the elder members of the BBC rep, like Norman Shelley and all the Marjorie Westbury Marvellous people...
Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah, Winnie the Pooh, could actually answer and give the teaching points at the same time. And, of course, the marvellous thing about those shows is it gave me the first glimpse into the fact that all actors are great gigglers. And they had every opportunity, because all those shows went out live.
Yeah.
And if you made a boo-boo, then it was shared by millions of listeners. I mean, I can remember once in the studio, Richard Herndl said, in a history programme, he said, "We now come to the moment when the infantry was amalgamated with the cavalry and became known as the Royal Arse Artillery."
It's the way they correct themselves.
I know! And all the other actors sort of stuffing their mouths with handkerchiefs and Kleenex. Oh, marvellous. And there was another time when... because the scripts, you see, were written by people with very pure minds, and as all actors have dirty minds, they read every double meaning going. And there was one wonderful moment. Again, it was Richard Herndl, who seemed to be saddled with these things, a science programme, and he was doing a narration going up in a spaceship, and the director had this incredible idea that sound effects were very necessary. Even there wasn't electronics in those days, but whatever it was. And so on this live broadcast, he said... and now we're going up in the spaceship, boys and girls, and on our left is Venus. On our right is Mars. And if you hear a peculiar noise rather like this, you will know that I have just passed an asteroid.
Your stage career started in the classical form, didn't it? What led to comedy then?
Well, the first hint of comedy was in... I was at the Open Air Theatre, Regent's Park. And there was a marvellous guy who ran that show called Robert Atkins. And any actor who has ever worked with Robert Atkins always does the voice, because Robert had this wonderful voice and this incredible hand. Without the hand, you'd beware all imitations. And, of course, we played in the open air when it was fine, and indoors if wet. And indoors was a bloody great marquee erected about... a quarter of a mile away, and sometimes the audience decided it was time to go there first, and sometimes the actors, and sometimes it was a mutual consent, and we all rushed to this marquee to get out of the... because it was persisting down. Yeah. It's quite a phrase. And one night we were doing A Midsummer Night's Dream, and we rushed into the marquee, closely followed by the audience. I mean, it didn't matter, because the sound of the rain on the roof was so great, you couldn't hear a word anybody said anyway. And everybody had forgotten to tell Robert. And Robert was playing canasta with his wife Ethel. And I was deputed, in those days, being the youngest and most fleet of foot, to rush across the duckboards and apprise him of the fact that we were actually continuing the performance indoors. Just too late, may I say, to see Robert going on stage to an empty auditorium, declaiming the words, "O grim-look night, O night with hue so black, O night whichever art when day is not, O God, where is everybody?"
That turned you to comedy, I can understand why.
Yeah.
And then you worked with the fabulous, and I use that word advisedly, the fabulous black and white minstrels.
Yeah, it's good.
Those must have been good days.
They were good days. You couldn't do that now, of course, with the Race Relations Board and all that kind of thing. It was a very innocent show. And when you bear in mind that the first minstrel was the son of a Jewish cantor, or the most famous one, Al Jolson, it all makes a nonsense of it, really. But those were great days. We had some wonderful times at the Victoria Palace. It was just... oh,
stage and television.
Oh, yes, of course, yes. We were on stage at the Victoria Palace. The trick, of course, in those days was that you had the voices on tape and the orchestration, the orchestra accompanying the tape live. Only because, I mean, they could sing perfectly well, but only because they didn't have to have individual microphones and they could roam about all over the stage. And it was very good. And their miming had to be very good, of course, because with the white round there, it really accentuated any mistakes that they made. But the only thing is, of course, that the microphone or the tape would sometimes go down if Battersea Power Station, on one occasion, for instance, decided it was going to pack up. And the sound went down, and it went lower and slower. And Tony Mercer was on stage, bless his heart, singing, "Remember the night, the night." It went lower and slower. Then all the lights went out, and George Chisholm and I were deputed to go on stage with storm lanterns, or torches, battery-operated, of course. I shone the torch in his face while he played the trombone, and he shone the torch in my face while I shouted gags at the audience. And we'd forgotten to check exactly what we were wearing, because we were hauled out of our dressing rooms. After about 45 minutes of this heroic behaviour, Battersea Power Station decided to work again, and all the lights went on, and we only had our underpants on.
It's one you survived one way and the other.
Well, that's right.
But I'm sure you will, and if the price is right, I hope you're with us many years to come. Leslie Crowther, for the moment, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much indeed.